Hey everybody, 7 reasons why retirement is better than you think. Before I retired, I thought I knew exactly what retirement was. And, not going to work anymore, that's it. That's the whole thing. But there again, I was wrong. And because once I actually retired, I started noticing things about retirement that I never once thought about while I was working. And the best parts, they have nothing to do with money. So today, 7 reasons why retirement is better than you think. Uh, Stick around for number 7. It's the biggest one, and it's probably taught me the most by far, and changed how I was thinking about the rest of my life. Uh, if you've not been here before, welcome. I'm Joe. This is Just Sharing Life. And if you have been here before, welcome back and thank you. Let's get into it. I've got these wrote down here so I don't mess it up here. I ain't got the whole thing wrote down, but the 7 points I want to make. Number 1, your time finally belongs to you. When I retired, this is probably the first thing that I noticed. And thinking about how much of your adult life runs on somebody else's clock, and what time you get up, where you're supposed to be at your desk or supposed to be at your job, when you got to go eat lunch, scheduled time, whatever it is for wherever you work, and then you finally go home, and then even Sunday nights get ruined because part of you is already ready to go, or already at work on that Monday morning in your mind, but then that day comes and you retire. Monday comes around and it's just a day. Nobody's telling you where to be. And I'll be honest, at first, after decades of always having somebody to go to or a job to go to, and then all of a sudden, nowhere, it takes some time getting used to. At least it did for me. And, once it settles in, there's nothing like waking up and knowing today's mine. I don't have to worry about it no more. So here we go. Number 2, you don't have to rush everything. When you're working, everything gets squeezed in between something else. You gotta run to the store, but you're watching the clock because you gotta be somewhere, and you start a project around the house, but you only got like Saturday to work on it, and it just feels like stolen time. But retirement slows all that down, and now I can just sit around, and if I want to go sit by the river, that's great. If I don't want to finish something today, there's always tomorrow. And after a lifetime of watching the clock, that's a pretty good feeling. Number 3, you start realizing how little you actually need when you retire. I've stopped. Of course, I don't have to buy work clothes, but one of the biggest things I've stopped is I eat out a whole lot less, and I got to save that money. That's just, I can't afford to buy these expensive things and all that. Some of the things that I would splurge on when I was working, and somewhere along the way, I realized, the more stuff was never what was going to make life better anyway. You know, when you're younger, it's easy to think that more is better. Like bigger house, and all that stuff, and new cars. Keeping up with the Joneses. But eventually, when you get a little older, you got to start asking a different question, and that's how much do I actually need to be happy? Because it don't take me much to be happy anymore. And it turns out that, I don't miss all that other stuff that I had, and I miss a few things, and I miss working, but, it takes a lot less to make me happy than what it did before I retired. Number 4, you get to decide what a productive day looks like for you. And this one took me a bit because I've always been a guy who is always working and working with my hands and stuff. So this one took me a little while. And when you got a job, productivity, it's easy to measure. You showed up, you finished the job, you got paid, but retirement doesn't hand you that scoreboard anymore. It's a whole different ball game. And, some days I fix something around the house and, I might go help somebody out, or, I might just go fishing and don't accomplish a single thing, but that's all right. That's fine. I've spent years feeling like every hour I had to produce something. I had to do something. And now I'm learning that just some days, just enjoying the day is what I got done. And that's the biggest thing I've learned. And on to the next. Number 5. You have time to learn things that you've never had time for before. And this is a good one. My brain didn't retire, of course. The rest of me did. But, all the new stuff today, technology and AI, making videos just like I'm doing right here. Whatever catches my interest this month. I'm always trying to learn something new. I like to figure things out, and I hope I figure things out, but I always like to try to find something new. I've got time for it now, so I never had the time before, so why not? I could just sit around and be a bump on a log, or I could learn something, and I choose to learn something. Sometimes I'll be a bump on a log, but I choose to learn something too. I don't want to spend the rest of my life, talking about what I used to do. I still look forward to doing things, and I still got things to do. And there's freedom in it. I'm not trying to get promoted anymore. I don't have to worry about that. If I'm bad at something when I start, who cares? I'm the only one that's going to be the one that notices. I can learn it just because I want to know how, and not because I have to. That's the great thing about it. Number 6, you start appreciating just ordinary little things more than you did before. The older I get, the more I notice the things that I would just walk on past. I can sit outside, enjoy nature, or a real conversation with somebody, or just going somewhere where it isn't crowded. Like I said before, a lot of times I like to go sit by the water, with nowhere I have to be, and that's pretty nice. None of that really sounds exciting, I guess, but, that's me. That's how I spend my time. But, what is a good life, if no one's excited after, one thing or another. What if it's mostly just ordinary days, and whether you actually stop to enjoy them? You got to enjoy your time, and you got to enjoy at least something. Find you something to do. And enjoy it. When you're younger, we're always waiting on the next thing. Like the next job or the next raise or the next house or the next vacation. And retirement, it's taught me to stop waiting and pay attention right now. And I wished I'd have figured that out a little sooner. But live and learn. And the last one, number 7. This one's a big one. I miss working. I miss using my hands, building stuff, and standing back and say, yeah, I did it, and just being needed. I won't pretend I don't. I do miss it. I miss work. But here's what I realized. I miss it, but my job ended. Thing is, my job ended, but I didn't. And that's the whole difference. I've still got things I want to do and things I want to learn, places I want to go, and people I can still help, and stories I can still tell, and probably I know probably a few more mistakes I'm going to make, and hopefully things that I'm going to get right too. But retirement isn't the end of your useful years. It might be the first time in decades that you actually get to decide what those years look like, that's ahead of you, instead of somebody else dictating it. That's those years ahead of us when we retire, or when we have retired away. Nobody can explain that, to you, and you're not going to know that until you're just right there in the middle of it. So, in closing, 7 reasons retirement is better than you think. Your time is yours. You don't have to rush. You need less than you thought you needed. And you define what productivity means to you. And you've got more time to learn. And, notice the little ordinary things, and just know that you're not finished, Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I got the perfect retirement, because I don't. Money matters, and purpose matters, and all that good stuff. They're real adjustments. And, I've talked about hard parts like this on the channel too, and I'm sure I'll talk about them again. But there's a lot of good in retirement that doesn't get talked about enough. And so with that, I'm going to end, and I'm Joe with Just Sharing Life. If you like sitting here and talking with me today, hit like, subscribe, come on back, and next time, until I see you again, take care of yourself, be blessed. Remember, retiring from work doesn't mean you're retiring from life. Take care and just keep moving. Thank you.